Welcome back to my back garden in glorious Pasture. And boy, have we got something good today. Say hello to the new HF2 elliptical high frequency coil for the XP DEUS 2 from XP Metal Detectors. That's it, it's been on charge. Takes about 5.5 hours to fully charge the coil. Obviously it's got the serial mark on the head here so that you're able to pair it with your XP DEUS 2. Before that though, you have to upgrade or update the software to the latest version, which you can do for free on XP's site. So I've done all that. I've fitted the battery. It's got this little pull cord to put it through and attach to the little battery that's up here. So initial impressions, wow, on the machine. It is incredibly light, especially because I normally swing the 13 by 11 inch coil, and so this is tiny in comparison. Now it measures 9.5 inches by 5 inches wide, and total weight including the new carbon stem is I think 456 grams. And if I got that wrong, I'll put the right weight up there. So it's a high frequency, multi-frequency coil. Now this really isn't the kind of coil that you would use on a day-to-day basis, unless of course you've got heavily contaminated sites, certainly in my case. So this is the kind of thing that you're going to use when you want really good iron separation or you're trying to find very small targets. And I've got a few sites that are definite contenders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together, after this, I'm going to put together a little compilation, because I'm hoping to get out with this maybe 7, 8, maybe even 10 times and see what we find on a couple of sites that I've got in mind for it, and see just how it performs. So the first site that I'm probably going to target is the medieval fort site. Now it's heavily contaminated ground. Now you often find that that's the case on sites that have been occupied over a very, very long period, because all the iron, all the little fragments of metalwork just from occupation, and it can be very difficult to pick out, with contaminated ground, pick out those small targets. So I'm hoping that this is going to be the coil to do it. And also, just yesterday, I found that fantastic silver Scottish hammered coin, which I think is a 20 pence of Charles I. So it's from sometime between 1625 and 1649. Now interestingly, that field in the same area produced another 3 copper Scottish coins from the same era, from around the 1640s through to the 1680s. So I'm definitely going to be running this coil over that site as well. So let's see how we go on. Off to the fields. Welcome back to the fields of Pasture in a slightly overcast but very warm Scotland. So I am back out. I'm back out on this field which last week produced that stunning Charles I silver coin, which I believe is a 20 pence. I haven't posted the video yet, but it will date sometime between 1625 and his beheading in 1649. There is a lot of iron contamination, so it's the perfect solution to use the new coil. This bottom end of the field is quite iron contaminated, but also it's a bit of set aside, so basically it's just been allowed to go wild by the farmer to encourage nature and such like. And the weeds have really taken off. Some of them are quite big, but the great thing about this coil is it is going to get me in amongst the spots where I couldn't necessarily get with a big 13-inch coil. I haven't done this field to death yet, so I would be expecting some bigger targets as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it copes with that, because the previous field that I've been on, I've done very, very intensively, and mostly this detector, this coil, was just picking up small targets. So I'm expecting both big and small, and hopefully something good. Oh, and I forgot to say what my settings are. So I'm going with the sensitive program because the ground's quite dry. I haven't tried any custom programs yet. Apparently you should go for the general program if the ground's quite wet, but that's not been a problem recently in Scotland, which is unusual. So I'm on program 2, sensitive, I've changed the audio to square tones because it suits my deafness a little bit better. And then menu, I've got the discrim set at 8 for the moment. Silencer's the same, sensitivity at 95. And I'm running in 53 kilohertz for the moment, but I'm going to jump between them, especially when I get a signal, so you can hear the different sounds at the different kilohertz. Other than that, everything is just exactly the same. I've left reactivity at 2.5 for the moment, but I could always drop that down a little bit. And as I say, everything else is exactly the same for the sensitive program 2 settings. So let's go. Well, we have our first digger, and it only took about 35 seconds. 63, and let's change up the, in fact let's change down the frequency, so that's it down to 29 kilohertz now. Still solid. Menu, let's go up to 89. Even louder. So we'll go back to the 53 and let's see what happens. 63, right in at the bush. So, oh, nearly fell over. We're out, and I can see something, and it isn't small. What is that? Look, there's an imprint. That tells me it's a spoon. It is, well, it's a spoon bowl. Well, there you go. I missed that with a big 13-inch coil, but these are quite thick little bushes, so I was probably steering away from it, and I've actually chosen to come through this spot, which is covered in quite tall, sort of 1 to 2 feet tall, little flowers and bushes. But a bit off a teaspoon, probably couple of hundred years old. We're off the mark. This is a screamer. 99, menu, 29 kilohertz. 96, 97, and lastly 89 kilohertz. Screamer, 99. Right, back to 53, and somewhere about there. Ah! Is that a coin? Well, it could be a button. Hard to tell. Looks concave to me. Be a very high readout if it was a button. But it certainly has a buttony shape to it. Okay, it's copper or bronze. Probably copper alloy. I'm going to give it a clean up and get back to you. I really don't know. It could be a coin that's been turned into a button. It could be a button that looks a bit like a coin, but I can't see any detail on it. It's irregular in shape, so if it was a coin, it's probably going to be George the First from the 1720s, 30s. But it could be a button, in which case it's probably from sometime in the 1700s, looking at the crudeness of it. So I don't know for sure, but if you can see anything, then let me know in the comments below. I'm digging a lot of targets, and I've had lots of very small pieces of lead and such like, a lot smaller than this. But this looks like a post office bag seal to me. What have we got? ARO? ARG? So, some town or city in Scotland, I think, but post office bag seal, probably late 19th, early 20th century. They were sold second hand to farmers who would use them for putting seed and crops and fertiliser in, because they were big and strong. Every metal detectorist is guilty of it at some time or another, which is forgetting to check your holes. Now, I've used my sat nav and I've come right over, and it's brought me to the exact spot where I got the Charles I silver coin a few days ago. And for anyone who watched that video, just a couple of feet before I got the Charles, I dug up a little thing which was kind of circular, like a sort of shape to it, and I wondered if it could be some sort of eyelet, a ring thing, or even maybe part of a pocket watch. Well, as I came over to where I got that coin, I got a signal in the hole that I dug where that came from, and look what I've just found. That is where the hammered coin came from, because I drew that line with my heel, and right here I just redug that same hole and I got the pocket watch. So the little bit that I got the other day was indeed part of a pocket watch, and now we've got almost the rest of it. Another one I'm going to film just in case. 78, a little bit tetchy. $75, $79. That, folks, is a button, and it's an old button. I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of Tudor, Jacobean. A little tiny little button. There you go, focused. But yeah, that's probably, I would think, 1600s, maybe 1500s, but I think it's probably 1600s. But what do you reckon? Certainly when I've put a few into the museum, that's what they've told me. So, I'll let me know in the comments below. So no rain was forecast today. It's supposed to be fairly sunny. It's supposed to be 100% dry. But welcome to Scotland, because it's raining. And I don't have a jumper or a jacket. This is a pretty tidy wee target. 80. Let's put it into 89 kilohertz. Still strong. And let's put it down to 29. Good. That's a stone. Where is it? Oh, it's there. It's lead. Well, we got a lead disc. And it must have been pretty shallow, and I've dropped it. Unfortunately, I don't see anything on it. So it could be a hem weight, I suppose, without the holes. Did get one off this field the other day. Then again, maybe it's just, I don't know, like a little weight or a token that's lost whatever detail might have been on it. But I can't see anything. What looks like a number 7 is just a wee nick. So there you go. If you know, comment below. We got another decent-ish one. $61. Ugh, it's a stone there. Nope, that's the stone there. Oh, I keep hitting the stone. That's better. Well, the soil is a lot sandier. Well, I can see something. And it is either aluminium. I tell you what, I think we might have a hammered. We've got another hammered. We've got another hammered. Absolute beauty. We've got another hammered. It's a silver. Oh, there you go, the bit of mud's just come off. Oh. Well, that is not going to be Charles. That might be Elizabeth or James VI. I think it might be Elizabeth. I think we might have got Elizabeth I, which is going to put it into the 1500s instead of the 1600s. Let's get the water bottle. Right, what a result. Well, having just said that this side of the field wasn't doing very well. That is a lovely wee coin. You can actually quite clearly see the head of Elizabeth I. You beauty. Absolute beauty. So it would say Elizab or Elizabeth, and then I think it would say DG de Gracia, ANG England, FRA France, et Hibernia, I think, is what it would say. And then it looks like, in fact, you know what, I don't think it, scrub that. I think it would say Rosa, and then I think it would say Sinspina, because that looks like PIN. So a rose without a thorn is the translation, if I've got that right. My eyesight isn't what it used to be, but I'm trying to zoom in as much as I can on this camera without distorting the image. Yeah, I think it is. I think that is Spina. So it's Elizabeth I, so it's going to be sometime between 1558, a wee bit of a damage there, between 1558 and 1603, so technically it could be from the 1600s. Civ, CIV, TA, and then probably S missing there. That bit is completely gone. There might be a letter O there. LON, DON, because you can see the O and the N, and I think the D is just about there. City of London. So that is, what, probably a threepence? Can't really tell because it's a wee bit clipped or damaged on the edge. And it's been a while since I've had one. They also do twopences, but they have two dots just on the right hand side of her back. I don't know if she did a penny or not. Possibly she did. But she ruled from, I think it was 1557 or 1558, and she died in 1603. She famously had her cousin, Mary Queen of Scots, imprisoned, which I think was 1587 she had her executed. 77, I think it was 1567 or 1568. After her defeat at the Battle of Langside, Mary Queen of Scots fled to England and then was resultingly imprisoned. Eventually, after almost 20 years, Elizabeth signed the death warrant and she was famously beheaded. That, folks, is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What a lovely coin. It's very, very good portrait as well. So often her coins are completely rubbed. But I'm over the moon with that. Absolutely over the moon with that. Yet another hammered coin. Oh, and actually, oh, I hit the wrong button. Meant to do that. This is the first bit of silver with the new coil. And it's a hammered. Unbelievable. Absolutely phenomenal. That is my little pinky finger. Now they did say that this coil could find some pretty small targets. That is pretty small. Absolutely brilliant. A pretty strong 50, and it was at a depth of about 6 or 7 inches, and it's a little twiddly knob type thing for, you know, paraffin lamp or something like that, I think, but actually getting some pretty good depth out of this little coil. And the sun's just come out, which will help dry my back. This one's a bit confusing. I've just dug there, got a bit of iron, but I've just filled it in, and there's clearly another bit of iron which extends out over there, so there's maybe a few pieces, another bit there, but there is a much better target. Menu, still on 53, 29 kilohertz, and now 89. So lots of iron, but definitely a bit of a, oh, stone again, bit of a better signal maybe. That's better. Okay, we're out with an 81, and the sun's out again. Fantastic. Oh, I think we might have a silver, or a spendable 5 pence. Moment of truth. Silver edge. You beauty. It's another silver. It's a threepence this time. Not a hammered, but they all count. I've got myself all tangled up. Absolute beauty. Yes, no, come on, off you come. There we go. Ugh, not really. I might have been, but I made a bit of a mess of that. Oh, in fact, you can see the 3, look. Yep, you can see the number 3. Well, we've got a threepence. I think it's 1920 something. Let's get the spray bottle. Double silver. Well, there's been quite a few silvers off this field now. I think that's maybe 5, maybe even 6, but this is, certainly by the milled ones, this is one of the best ones, because the other 2 were burnt. I can't really tell, 22 maybe? Possibly 1922, but it is Gorgie Georgie, there he is. Oh, it's lovely on that side. Very nice indeed. Very nice. Beautiful condition coin. The back's a wee bit more rubbed. I'm going to clean this off camera because I can't quite tell what that date is. Back to you in a second. There you go. It is indeed 1922. So we missed out on the higher silver content by 2 years. But I'm not complaining. It is another silver coin and it's a really nice coin. Really nice. Not a lot of wear on that at all apart from the top of his head. A wee bit over here by Rex. Otherwise, pretty decent. So, you know all about Gorgeous George, as I call him, 1910 to 1936, so he's 12 years on the throne by this point, and we're just into the beginning of the 1920s, post-World War I economic boom all around the world, that ends in 1929 with the Wall Street crash. Welcome back to the fields of Pasture in Bonnie, Scotland. As well as the usual XP DEUS 2 and the Jethroid programme, we've also got the HF2 multi-frequency coil from XP out with us as well. So I've been putting this through its paces, but it'll be interesting to do a little comparison between the two, go with the DEUS 2 to begin with, and then go over the same area with the HF2 and see what happens. Okay, I've done 2 lines, roughly 100 metres one way, 100 metres back. I've overlapped slightly. I've put on the little HF2 coil, and I think I'll probably go with sensitivity 95, and I'm going to go with the 53 kilohertz for the moment. Other than that, I think I'll leave it there. Yep. Okay. Let's see if it spots anything that we missed with the big coil. Almost immediately I've picked up a target. Put you on the big screen. 52, 54, 53. And there you go, folks. Right there. It is a little bit of lead. And that is a very small target. Wasn't massively deep, maybe about 3 inches, but again, it's picking up the small stuff. There are plenty of little bits of iron in this field, lots of them in fact, because my other machine is just chirping away all the time. But this is noticeably quieter. I'm occasionally getting a little blimp in the ears of a little piece of iron. It's taken some amount of getting used to though, because it is so light, and because the coil's a lot smaller, you've got to walk at a steady wee pace. Well, there's a little 66. So let's have a look. What is there? Well, it must be small, whatever it is. Tiny. My goodness, is that it? Phew. That's just a tiny little bit of copper. Look at the size of that. Is that honestly it? It is, you know. Well, they weren't kidding when they said it found small stuff. Unfortunately not good, but wow, that is sensitive. Lovely. What's that? Well, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Oh, what's that? I think that is it. It's a bit of a wing nut, I think. Or something similar. A little coppery piece. But, well, we found it. That's the main thing. Quite a high output on this one. Well, it's a coin or a button. I think it's a coin, folks. Yes, I think that is a coin. And it looks like a little turner. It looks like another copper Scottish 2p. Potentially. It's very thin anyway. Right, let me dry this up, clean it, and get back to you. I'm afraid, folks, it is absolutely toasted. But I'm pretty certain that that is a Scottish turner. You can just make out a line running around the outside edge, which tells me that it is a hammered coin, a copper Scottish hammered coin. So my suggestion would be it's a tuppence, a 2p, probably from Charles I or Charles II, sometime in the 1600s. Welcome back to the fields of Pasture, and as you can see behind me is a tiny little white coil. So I'm back out putting this high frequency elliptical coil, newly released by XP Detectors, putting it through its paces. Now, we've only just recently started to have the harvest, so for the last couple of months that I've had the coil, I've been really limited as to where I can and can't use it, but that hasn't stopped me finding some really good things, as you've probably already seen in the video. Now, because the harvest is now started and is underway, I've got huge amounts of particularly stubble fields available. Now, where this coil will really come into its own is contaminated ground, and this field is absolutely perfect for it because there were several industrial buildings here through the 16, 17 and 1800s, and in fact a mill continued here until just after the Second World War. It's one of the reasons why this field and the neighbouring fields produce lots of lead seals, which are probably from the flax industry and the jute industry and also the linen industries back in the day. However, we've had some fantastic finds off these fields. We've had some hammered coins. We have even had some Roman, I was going to say, some Roman 4th century coins. And probably the reason for that is because our other Roman site is on the opposing side of the river. So, the Roman 4th century stuff comes in very tetchy, so it'll be interesting to see if this coil can pick anything up. In addition, we've had the usual Victorian, Georgian and so on. Now I've also got my rucksack on my back, and just sticking out the top is the stem of my 13-inch coil. So where possible, if it's not too time consuming, I'm going to do a little comparison between the two. And also, this is the first time out with the new software. So I've upgraded to 3.1. So it was 3.03 before. Now we're on 3.1. So let's go and see if we can find any treasures. Oh, but don't forget, if you're not already subscribed, then please hit the button, help support the channel's growth. And if you're able, give me a hype. I still don't know how it works, but if you can, I'd appreciate it. Considering it's a very small coil and it's very light, it's actually not doing too badly with this stubble. That was something I was concerned about. This is the first time I've been in a barley stubble field with it, but we've got a target almost straight away. Now it's a 51, the field has been ploughed since I was last on it to a depth of about 12 to 14 inches. I suspect the big coil will find this, but let's check. A quick 30-second changeover and the big coil does find it. It just sounded that way, that it was going to be that case. So maybe a button to get it started, possibly. Let's see if we're off to a flyer. Oh, Well, we've got something right there. Oh, well, I tell you what, folks, it could be a Roman. I tell you what, I think that is a Roman coin on the first hole. I cannot make that up. That is a 4th century Roman. Oh my goodness, what a start. Hopefully you can just make out the nose, the eye, the mouth, the chin, and the profile of the face looking to my right hand side is very abraded. But I tell you what, we're straight in with a Roman. On that side, there is some sort of standing figure. It's almost certainly 4th century, sometime around sort of 300 to 370, give or take. So, there you go, 1700-year-old coin on the first hole. What a start. Incredible. Not even a minute later, we've got another digger. And it's that strong a signal, I don't think that there's any way that the big coil isn't going to miss that either. And indeed, it's a screamer. I would say it's a coin contender. Ground is nice and wet, but I really didn't expect a lot of targets in this field. But it's been ploughed, and you can see how much ploughing can completely transform a field that's been done to death. It's in my hand. So seeing obvious. Well, it's not in my hand. I've dropped it, shock horror, and it is actually, oh, nearly, it looks like another lead seal. Wow, what a start. Okay, neither, well, you know, the small coil didn't only discover the finds, but as I say, I did not expect this many targets to be immediately coming up. So it's a bag seal, or a flax seal. This field has produced the highest number I've ever seen of any field in my life, because literally they must have been opening the bags of flax or the bales of flax and just throwing the seals out into the field, and then they've been ploughed in over the years. A possible date at the bottom, 1837, possibly, which would kind of make sense. It's a different variety from what we usually get off this field, but still, it's a really nice thing. 1837, and a Roman on the first 2 holes. What a start. This is 3 diggables in 3 minutes, and I suspect the big coil is going to be able to find that as well, but let's find out. And indeed, the big coil can find it. Now, one of the reasons why I chose this field to come out to, as well as being infested with iron to detect, is because I thought any targets that are still here are going to be pretty small. And this field has been so heavily detected that the small coil will come into its own. Oh, for goodness sake. Anyone get any lessons on how to use a pinpointer? Here it is. Must have been literally on the surface. It's a thing. Might be the clamp off of a battery for a tractor, possibly. A little bit of copper, and it looks like it was literally on the surface. Okay, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. What I was going to do was I was just going to stick with the small coil, not expecting a lot of targets, but I'm getting lots of targets. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a grid. I'm going to do a strip of land with the big coil, dig any holes, then I'm going to go back over the exact same land with the small coil and see if we've missed anything. This time it was a little chirpy one. We've got a little button, a wee dome chunky button, but it was still only coming through as a very sort of rusty sounding 72. Still, it's probably sometime in the 1800s, maybe late George III through into William IV, George IV, and into early Queen Victoria. I really cannot believe the amount of holes that I've dug. That's 30 minutes in and this is my 12th hole. Sounded pretty ropey in the ground. But better now, there is a little bit of an irony tone to it. It could be lead, or it could be aluminium. It's lead. I think we've got another seal. We do. Aha! Well, there you go. Flax seal number 2, and this is the variety we normally get off this field. Just give it a wee gentle rub. Take too much mud off, you'll lose the detail. But this is a variety that seems to be almost unique to this field. So they must have been importing flax from a very specific place that no one else in the neighbouring mills was. So I think it's RB, initials of a company, and this is what makes it a little bit different. It's almost like the cross of a hammered coin. You can see the slots there on either side, and again it's probably sometime beginning towards the end of the 1800s, probably comparable in date to the last one. Well, they say don't work with people or animals because everything will go wrong, but clearly I shouldn't work with detectors either, because the reason I came to this field is because I expected it to be barren of targets. Anything that was here I thought was just going to be small, but there's 3 fantastic finds that I've had. The big coil found them, the small coil found them. But what I've done an area that's probably about 100 square metres, 150 square metres, and what I'm going to do now is put the small coil back on, go over it. If I do get a digger, then I'll cross compare it and see if the big coil missed it, or if it was human error. So let's find out. At last, we've got a target. If I haven't missed anything with the big coil in the first, well, I've probably done about 50-60% of that area, but now we've got a little squeaker. So that's it in 53 kilohertz. Let's see what it sounds like in 29 kilohertz. Still there. And then let's go to the highest, 89 kilohertz. Bit more responsive, I would say. Well, it might be junk, but let's get the other coil and see if it notices. And the answer is no. Maybe a little bit of a chirp there when I come at a different angle. Nothing there though. That's the direction I was walking. I mean, there's barely a little chirp, but nothing that you probably wouldn't think was that was a bit of an iron background. Right, let's dig the hole. Yeah, let's dig. Well, in fact, I'll need to change coils so I can find it. Okie doke. Well, there's no doubt there is a target there. 90, 80, all sorts. I actually thought that was it there, but it's a stone. I thought that was an imprint of something there, but it is just a stone. Right, we've got a wiggly worm. Let's get that out of the way. Where are you? There you go, get back in the hole. Well, we have a silver. Ta-da! Right there, a silver threepence. Of George V. Boom. So, I suspect it was on its edge. Don't think it was massively deep. Maybe 4 or 5 inches, give or take. We'll give it a little spray, Give it some respect. And there you go. That's a nice little coin. Oh, you beauty. It's pre-1920. 1914. So the outbreak of the Great War. The war to end all wars. Till we had another one. Brilliant. Really nice. Silver threepence of George V. This is a pretty noisy 50. So I'm not going to cross check it. To be fair, I think I missed this, because that line there was what I was using as my edge to swing to, and I think I probably just stopped a wee bit short. It's a 50. I'm pretty certain the big coil would find this too. But I'm not going to change over because it's pouring with rain. Is that it? That is it. An old bit of foil. It's another one the big coil isn't picking up. 46, 47. It does sound pretty small, whatever it is. First spadeful, so it wasn't hugely deep within the first 6 inches or so. I'm going for a wee bit of lead or a wee bit of copper. I think we have it in our hand. We do. It might be a little button. Oh, it's got iron attached to it. Now that's why it sounded a bit weird. That's definitely the target though. Okay, let's give it a wee rub-a-dub. Well, I think it's a button. Yeah, I think it is. It is. It's not too dissimilar from the one that I got previously, but obviously that iron infestation on it is affecting the signal on the other coil. But there you go. Probably sometime from the 1800s. Welcome back to the pea fields of Pasture. And another day with the HF2 high frequency coil from XP. Now, I have brought you to the most polluted field that I have permission on. And the reason it's polluted is because there was a mill here back in the 1800s, but the other reason is because it was also a blacksmith's here. Now, the blacksmith was here for over 200 years, and as a result, the iron contamination in this part of the field is off the scale. Also, directly above my head, you'll see some electrical cables. And just out in the edge of the field is a massive pylon and transformer, which is, I don't know, 12,000 volts. And the amount of interference, regardless of what I do with the 13-inch coil and the DEUS 2, I cannot seem to cancel it out. And I'm told that this little coil, as well as finding small targets and low conductors, also is very good at dealing with electrical interference. It's got a name, I can't remember what it's called. I want to say IBM, but that's a computer company. EC something. Anyway, who cares? So, I'm out on this field. Now, we've done quite a lot of this field. It is a big field, it's about 30 acres, but we've never really bothered over here because it's just too much. Now, it has produced lots of Georgian coinage, as well as some milled silver, so anything's possible. So let's go and see if we can find any treasures. Just to try and give you an idea of the level of interference, I don't know if the microphone will pick this up or not, but so very, very heavily polluted ground everywhere you swing. So let's see if we can pick out any targets with the HF2 coil. There are undoubtedly going to be big targets, small targets, and anything in between, because this field, this part of the field, is effectively undetected. Just to show you what settings I have got on, I'm going with sensitive, which is program 2, and all I've done is I've tweaked the sensitivity to 93, I've got the frequency at 53, everything else is the same, apart from the discrim. So I've set that to 9 for the moment, but I might drop it down or I might lift it up. We'll see how it goes. But immediately we've got a digger. And the first hole is a fairly hefty piece of lead. Well, the Royal Air Force is back again. We've got 2 Eurofighters, I think, flying very low, out on patrol. That came in at a 38 from a depth of approximately 5 inches, and that is 2/3 of a 4-hole button, or maybe a 2-hole button. No, it's a 2-hole button. So 2/3 of a button, and that is it was loud and clear. So yeah, certainly good at finding the small stuff. I'm digging a lot of targets, lots of lead primarily, which I always think is a good sign on a site. It is iron, well, not all of it. There is a little copper alloy piece in the middle, and that gives me great hope, because it's literally not only sitting on top of but attached to a lump of iron, and you can see it almost completely cancelled out the iron tone and just plucked out the copper alloy. So that is a very good sign, very good indeed. Again, lots of contamination around. You'll hear it coming through the microphone, or the speakers should I say. What's there? Well, it's a little thin piece of copper wire. Maybe fencing wire or something, but again it's pulling out the signals in between the junk. And a Tetchy 70-ish, 74 produces a fork. Except I can't straighten it. There is some lettering there, Mickle something. Unfortunately, I snapped it trying to straighten it. I don't know what it's made of, but it's incredibly difficult to bend. But we've got a maker. So it's I think it's LE or LT and Co. Limited, Alpaca Nickel Silver. So electroplated. So it would have been bright silver when it was lost. So yeah, probably, I don't know, early 1900s maybe. A field worker having their packed lunch, or maybe even the blacksmith. I'm going to dig one of these just to show you what I'm up against. 27, I suspect this is another lump of, I don't know what you would call it, a hot rock, coal, coke. But the whole part of this field is littered with it. Right there. So it looks like a stone, it's very light. And it's basically, you can see it's a bit black. See if I can split it open with my knife. Back to you in a sec. And that's the best I can do. So that is the biggest problem with this field. So if you've got a field that's littered with these little pieces of, as I say, not sure what you'd call it, let's go with charcoal. But if you've got a field that's littered with this because it's an industrial site or a site that's had occupation over a long period of time, then you know that, okay, they come through very low. I'm sure you can notch them out if you wanted to, but you know, I just know if it's 25 to 35, it's probably one of these, and every time it has been. This, folks, is what we call a screamer. This is the target of the day so far. 3 hours I've been going for, and I've not been short of targets, I can tell you. But nothing amazing so far. It's still a 98. 97, 98. One thing to note about this coil is that targets do come in a little bit higher than they do with the normal 9, 11 and 13 inch coils. Oh, there we go. We've got a coin at last. And it looks like a Georgian, which is why it was quite high. 90, 91, 92 is what the Georgian stuff normally comes in at. But on this little coil, that was 97, 98. And that, folks, is definitely George III. I think that will clean up quite well. The detail is kind of coming and going as it dries, but you can clearly see Britannia there. You'll see her fading through. And it's a halfpenny, it's George III. And I suspect it's probably going to date to around about 1806, give or take. Oh, careful. So there you go. I turn that, you can see the head there. Mr. Potato Head himself, fading through. The date would be just below him. You can just make out at the top, Georgius, George III. And as I say, around about 1806. Brilliant. So, very clear, very precise. Copper, a very, normally a coin that comes through very, very well. And it did indeed. So great, we're off the mark. Only a 45-47 just out of the hole there. Still the same, 47, so it's going to be a button, I think. It is, it's a beautiful big tomback, look at that for an imprint. A lovely big Georgian tomback, and only about 10 feet away from the coin. I did tell you, predominantly it's George III stuff that comes out this field. And that's exactly the period that this is from. A great big tomback, probably from around 1790, early 1800s. Contemporary with the coin. Things are looking up. Oh, we got another killer target. 93, 94. And what I forgot to do last time was change the kilohertz, just to let you know what the different tones sound like. So there's 29. Oh. Very clear. Let's go menu. Let's bump it up to 89 now. So, very, very clear regardless of what I do really. Let's go back to 53, which I was on. You ain't missing that. 94. Oh, sort out the zoom. But the question is it something good? Oh, it's very rooty, whatever it is. We're out on the first again. Okay, 93, 95. So, ordinarily probably 90-91 on the bigger coil. It's a silver. You beauty. You know what, I was actually going to say threepence. And it's a threepence. Let's get some water. We're back on a silver. Again. I think it's going to be George V to look at that. Zoom you in for the spray down. Oh, and it's a beauty. That is a George V. What year do we have? Is it pre-1920? Oh, it's got a 1 in there, so it is 1916 or 18? 18, I think. Absolutely phenomenal. Back to you in a moment. It's a lovely little coin. It is indeed 1918. I thought for a wee minute it was a 13, but no. When you hold it like that, it's clearly an 8. It's just tarnished. So, 1918, a great year, a big year for the world. Because in November, the First World War, the Great War, came to an end. 1917, the United States declared war on Germany. I think it was April or May 1917. And Germany in the spring of 1918, they laid huge attacks on the Western Front. The idea was to try and get a sort of formidable position, push back the Allies before the Americans arrived in force. However, they kind of overstretched, and that kind of put them on the back foot. And then there was a huge 100-day offensive through the summer into the autumn, which resulted in Germany being pushed back practically to Germany, and that resulted in the surrender of Germany in November 1918. Kaiser Wilhelm fled, I think, to the Netherlands for some reason, and Germany became a republic, later the Weimar Republic. So there you go, tumultuous period. I wonder if the person who lost this coin fought in the First World War or not. But a lot of farm workers, farm hands were excused because food was essential for the war effort. This is going to be my last target for today, but don't go anywhere because I'm stitching together various videos. Of course, assuming this is something good, in which case it'll appear in the video. So if you're seeing it, this is good. £97 to £99. Spendable, maybe, 1 pence. Now not quite as 98 going up to 96. So another Georgian is possible. Well, I think there's, no there's not. There is there? Okay, well, I thought I could see something there, but no. Aha! We've got a coin. That looks like a threepence, which might well be brass. Get the pinpointer. Oh, turned it on again. Turn off. There we go. That looks like a threepence to me. Oh, look at that for an imprint. You can see the sea thrifts on the bottom. Just. On the other side, should be, probably. Oh, no. Not so good on the other side. A little bit of corrosion as well. Okay, it's definitely a threepence, and I think it is George VI. This side, not quite so good. A little bit worn, but you can clearly see Georgios V1, George VI. So he took the throne in 1936. This is 37, look at the back, so much better condition. So he took the throne in 36, I think it was December, so this coin must have literally been one of the first produced. Maybe that makes it rare. The little funny plants on the back are sea thrifts, 1937, so I think this will be made of brass, which is why it was such a high readout. It's in pretty good condition, to be honest, on the back at least. And George VI had taken the throne after his older brother Edward the 7th, let's say 7th, abdicated. And he abdicated in, no, in fact Edward the 8th I think was his brother. He abdicated in November or December of 1937, and he'd only been in the job about 10 months because he wanted to marry Wallis Simpson, a divorcee. And now King Charles is a divorcee married to a divorcee. How times change. Right, lovely, good way to end. And that, folks, is me for today, but there will be more. The plan is that I'm going to do 10 digs with this coil before I put together a video. So I'm doing a really as comprehensive a video as I possibly can. The final, I've actually only got one more day to go to do that 10th video, and that will be on the field which produced that beautiful gold hammered gold noble medieval 1400s coin for Martin a few years ago. It's been really heavily detected, so I'm not expecting a lot of signals, but possibly this little coil might sneak out something small that we've missed, or something that was not particularly conductive. So that'll be the next place that I'll be trying, and then I'll put together a compilation just explaining how I think the coil works, how it's possibly just what you need to add to your arsenal. But what I should say is this field has been the best field that it's performed. And I don't mean that as it hasn't performed in other fields. What I mean is this field is just a nightmare. It's littered with clinkers, those little bits of coal, charcoal, whatever you want to call them, hot rocks, and it's infested with iron as well. And okay, I didn't get lots of great finds, but I did get one Georgian copper, I did get one silver, and I did get a brass threepence. So I got 3 coins out of really difficult ground. Right, onwards to the medieval site. Welcome back to the Gold Royale fields of Pasture, and my last time out with the HF2 Coil. Tried it on lots and lots of different land, you know, clean land, horrible land, in between land, medieval sites, Roman sites, and we're back on a really fantastic medieval site that's produced, I think, somewhere in the region of about 8 to 12 hammered silvers, as well as the Gold Royale that Martin found a few years ago. There's also been silver rings, there's been casket keys, there's been other medieval items, a beautiful silver cross that Martin found in this field, or someone found in this field, I can't remember who. But yeah, and I've also struck the jackpot. So look at these in at the edge of the field. These are what we call in Scotland brambles. Blackberries. Is that what you would call them? I don't know why they're red, but maybe they're red berries. Well, they can't be, they're all grown on the one plant. So anyway, they're pretty bitter. They are sweet and bitter at the same time, but they're often used for jam. And the hedges here are absolutely teeming with them. So who knows, maybe I'll tell my wife and we'll come back. Oh, look at the size of some of these ones. Wow, monsters. Oof. So yeah, these are just growing wild. Oh my goodness, look at the size of them. Wow, find of the day so far. So yeah, might well get myself back here with my wife. Maybe we'll come and pick some. And I'm going to eat that one right there because it's big and juicy. Oh, it's overripe. Darn. Oh well. Right, I'm not going to eat that one then. So yeah, might come back with my wife, pick some, maybe make some jam. If I die tomorrow, you might know why. Oh wow, they're delicious. There's a chance of rain today, so I brought my jacket, which I've just left at the side of the field there because it's actually too warm to wear, and I've walked all of 6 feet. Oh, we've got a digger. Sounds small. It's relatively low output. And it's out. So, that's a pretty good sign. Is this yet again going to be me thinking that a field that should not have a lot of targets actually has loads because it's been ploughed since we were last on it? Well, it's a little bit of tinfoil. Now this one is coming through 3747, and that's us on 2 hours roughly. Sounds pretty small and pretty faint. I've had maybe 12-15 targets so far. 12 or 15, and it's basically all been aluminium or lead. This might be another wee piece of lead or something. Oh, bit of a button. Maybe a tomback. It's got a line on it. Tell you what, folks, it could be a hammered, or a bit of one. I think it is, you know. I think it is. That is tiny. Look at that. That is a hammered coin. Well, it's probably about a 1/12 of a hammered coin, maybe an 1/8, but it is a hammered coin. Well, I'll just rescan the hole just in case there's more. Oh, I mean, that break there looks more recent than that one does. Okay, I'll have a wee double check and then we'll come back and have a look at it. We have actually got something else, and I think it, oh, stuck to the pinpointer. And I think it could be another bit. Put that down because I don't think there's nothing else in there, but that is, I think, another fragment there. Maybe we've got a whole coin. It is definitely, look, you can see the dots. So we've got, like, it definitely is, look at the dots. It's a hammered coin. Well, a bit of it. Right, I put the other bit down here. There you go, flip that over. Oh. This is not easy when you drop stuff all the time, because if I drop this I might never find it again, even with a metal detector. So it goes that way. No, does it? It does. There you go. Oop. This is dangerous. Right, I'm going to do this properly standing up. Back to you in a second. There we go, folks. Put back together again. I've had a good scan of the whole of the ground using the pinpointer and the detector, and no luck trying to locate any more pieces. Let's put that back together like that side. Oh, where is it? There it is. That is, oh, this is a nightmare trying to film, because I know I'm going to drop it. I can't really see very much on that at all. Looks like a cross, possibly. Oh, there we go, that's better. So you can see there's a little cross there. You can see the little pellets round the outside edge. It's clearly letters, not that I can read any of them. And I'll flip it over and get back to you. And there is the other side. So it's definitely a hammered, because you can see the 3 pellets, you can see the letters. I mean, the break is very, very recent. It wasn't me, I should add, but I'm going to have a scout around, see if there's any more pieces. Hopefully one big piece. Well, let's see what it sounds like. 37, but it was occasionally jumping up to 47. So there you go. 37 for 2 tiny little pieces of a hammered coin, which could be what, 12, 13, 1400s maybe? Just had a look back through my camera to see how many videos I'd shot. This is my 16th target, and that's me been going for about 4 hours, 3.5 to 4 hours. And that is part of a clasp for suspenders, or braces, or socks, or whatever you want to call them. And it's pretty tiny, but every single target has been that size or smaller, with the exception of that little winder that we got right at the start. So that's promising, certainly pulling out the small targets. If there's something here, I'm sure we're going to find it. This is the best sounding target so far today. 72. Where there's 1 gold hammered, there could be 2. Something there, maybe. There's something there, green. What is that? It's a thing. It's something very small. Kind of has a bit of a look to it though. Well, who knows? It's a fragment of something, but it is green. But we might never know. A coil. And folks, that is me. I've had a look back at the videos. 19 holes in 4 hours and 20 minutes. So not hugely busy, but with the exception of the little watch winder type, or the paraffin lamp winder that we got right at the start, all the targets were tiny, including that tiny little broken, or 2 broken pieces of a hammered coin. I had a really good scout around, but nothing else doing. Be interesting to see if it even marries up, because I know there's a few broken ones that we've already had off this field, so possibly we've already found the rest of it. But yeah, it was certainly pulling out the small targets, which was nice to see, because it gives you that confidence that if there's something small there, you ain't going to miss it, as long as you're swinging properly. Right, now time to go back to my back garden, and we'll just do a wee bit of a summary. See you there. Welcome back to my back garden in Pasture, my wasp infested back garden, because I've just realised that the apple tree, which is to my right hand side, lots of rotting apples lying on the ground, they're covered in wasps, and they're probably all slightly drunk on the rotting apples, and hopefully they're not all going to start attacking me. Ugh. Anyway, so there you go, that's a reasonably comprehensive 10 outings with the new HF2 coil, and great first impressions. I wanted to make it as comprehensive as possible because I didn't see the point in just going out for one outing or two outings. I wanted to try it in lots of different environments, different lands, stubble, pasture, set aside, pea field, iron infested, medieval, Roman, and so on and so on. So the video is a bit higgledy-piggledy because I've had to stitch together lots and lots of different days with all the different finds to try and keep it interesting, but also try and not bore you all to death by digging up tiny pieces of lead, tiny bits of copper, and so on. But hopefully that's given you a relatively good understanding of the new HF2 coil. And as I say, it's a very sort of niche coil. I don't think it's something that most of you would use every single day, unless of course you've got very mineralised, very polluted, very noisy land wherever you are. Thankfully we don't have too much of that, but as you've seen, we do have a few sites where it works really, really well. I tried as well some fields that just didn't quite work out because the big coil was finding the targets that the small coil was, and that's because the ploughing has brought up lots of new targets where I didn't anticipate that to be the case. But I mean, beautiful hammered Elizabeth I, I think it's a threepence. A few more modern silver coins, and then also the two broken pieces of what I think might be an Edward IV silver penny. Which would be interesting because the gold coin that Martin found a few years ago was also Edward IV from the same field. So that's an interesting little discovery. So yeah, great impressions. I really like the size of the coil, the lightness of the coil. It's like it's not even there. It's so light in comparison to the 13-inch coil that I'm always swinging out in the fields normally. So it'll be a really welcome additional coil to have for when I'm out, because I can carry it in the backpack, it takes up no space. I do really like the new charging feature, the fact that the battery's within the stem, 350 to 460 grams, I think, whether you're weighing just the coil or the coil and the stem. And yeah, fantastic, really, really happy with it. So fantastic bit of kit. So as I say, hopefully it's given you a bit of a grounding, a bit of an understanding of the coil, and you're going to see it in lots of other videos, because there's some other sites that I haven't had the opportunity to get on yet because the potatoes haven't been harvested here, and they won't be probably until the end of September. So it'll be featuring in other videos in the near future, and I probably will take it out on the site where the Bronze Age axe head came from as well. You never know, maybe there's some Bronze Age gold out there somewhere waiting to be discovered. The one thing that I've waited to add to the end of the video is just the unboxing, how the battery goes in, how the charging works, and I'll just put that at the end of the video just now. So hopefully you all enjoyed the video and enjoyed the finds. So thank you all for watching. As ever, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, then please hit the button and help support the channel's growth. Right, I've done about 4.5 minutes and I haven't been stung by a wasp yet. So let's have a wee look at the unboxing and the charging of the coil. See you soon. Thanks for watching. The wrapping is off. And there we go. Brand new coil for the XP DEUS 2 from XP Metal Detectors. The HF2, which is a high frequency elliptical multi-frequency coil, and it's 9 inches in length. Total weight including the stem is about 456 grams, and it's got a new different style of port for the connection to the battery. Let's have a little look at that. It comes with a carbon fibre lower stem, and the battery is contained within that. So there's your little port for attaching the coil, which you feed up through the lower stem and then connect it into the battery, and it is completely wireless, connecting to the control unit. Just like that. It comes with a very simple little guide how to attach the lead for the battery, and also how to put your coil on with the little nuts and bolts which are provided. You get one set plus a spare, and then you also get your cable. So this is a completely new design for XP, and I have to say it's looking good. And this is how the charging works. Take your little device here, put it over the edge and slide. So let's get it on charge, and let's get the software updated and then take it out for a spin.